Good evening and welcome to our Wednesday devotion. I ran across an old adage that says, if you hear, you forget. If you see, you remember. If you do, you understand. The first thing that came to mind is driving, because most of you are thinking about driving or just getting started driving. If you heard instructions on how to drive but never saw anybody drive before, it would be a whole jumbled mess of facts. You'll be talking about it. Putting in the key here, moving the gear shifter here, pushing brake pedal. It is just a whole bunch of things shoved into one description, and without any prior knowledge of what they're talking about, it'd be very confusing. But the fact is, we've seen people drive our entire lives. You've seen your parents drive you back and forth to school, and that helps you remember the facts and boring stuff about driving. But you don't truly understand that until you're driving yourself. First time you get in the car and you don't have a parent with you and you're driving to church, we'll say, then you don't have anyone watching. You don't have anyone saying, look out for that car that's pulling out of the parking lot. You don't have anyone saying, watch out for this pedestrian. That's truly when you understand driving, is when you're behind the wheel physically doing it yourself. My devotion today had to do with living an example. And I don't know whether you guys understand this or not, but no matter how you live, you're an example to your friends and the people around you, your friends and family. Good example or bad example, either way, you are an example to the people around you. If you are doing things the right way, then people notice, but they also notice if you're not doing things the right way. How does this relate to if you hear, you forget? If you see, you remember, and if you do, you understand. If people are hearing that you tell the truth, they'll forget that. If they see you always telling the truth, they'll remember. And once they are convinced that that's the way to be, once they are dedicated to always telling the truth, then they'll understand fully what that means. But you can apply that to any part of your personality, any part of your life. If you're doing something right or wrong, they will see that and they'll remember that. If you're telling them to do something that you don't live yourself, they'll forget it. But the ultimate goal is to get that person, your friends, to live it so that they completely understand. I can tell you that there are just a handful of people that have influenced my life outside of my family. Some of my most valuable lessons were from people that I'm not related to. And I didn't learn those lessons because they told me that they were doing something or they told me to do something. They lived an example, and I was able to follow it. I'm going to leave you with a scripture from 1 Corinthians. It's chapter 11, verse 1. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. We're going to take out the middleman here and say that just follow Christ's example. We have a book full of Christ's examples. And the reason for you to actually follow Christ's example and not just talk about it, but live it and follow Christ's example is because you may be the only Jesus some people see. You may be their only chance to see Jesus. Hope you guys have a great week. I love you, and I'll see you next time.